G'day there guys, I'm Marky and welcome back to some more stories from Reddit. Let's get right into it. Cheers. Am I the asshole for refusing to meet my mum after she went no contact with me for over a decade? So a little background. I'm 35 male and my parents divorced when I was 17. My dad struggled with alcohol and drug addiction and my mum eventually left him, which I totally understood and supported. Living with him was impossible. He wasn't violent, but verbally abusive, and he spent all of our money on his habits. That was the last straw for my mum. After the divorce, my dad spiraled. He nearly overdosed and ended up in the ICU. I was living with my mum at the time, but I was scared that my dad would die, so I moved back in with him and my uncle's family. My mum was disappointed, but let me make my choice. Losing my mum, most of his friends, going broke, nearly dying, finally got through to my dad, and he promised he would get better for me. It was hard to watch, but he actually turned things around. My uncle paid for everything: rehab, therapy, medical bills, and after about 5 years, my dad was clean and somewhat healthy again. He even apologized to my mum, and she forgave him, though she told me later that it was only for my sake so that they could be civil at future events, like my graduation or wedding. Over those years, I kept in contact with my mum, regularly met with her. She had moved on and met a great guy, who she eventually married. She was much happier, and I was happy for her. I thought we had a pretty good relationship. That changed when I was 23. My mum asked me to come over, and she told me she was still angry and disappointed that I chose my dad over her after the divorce. She said I was ungrateful for everything she went through, putting up with my dad's shit, and then she hit me with something that still pisses me off today. She told me that she could see me becoming a drunk and drug addict like my dad because I stayed close to him. I don't drink, I don't do drugs to this day, and I had no idea where that even came from. I was flawed. I thought we'd moved past all of that, but apparently she had been harboring resentment for years. Then she said that she wanted to go no contact with me because being around me brought back too many bad memories of my dad. She said she had found peace and happiness, and I was a reminder of all the pain she had been through. I didn't know what to say except, okay. I later found out from my cousin on her side that her whole family was pissed at me for staying with my dad back then, and they all went no contact with me for her sake, saying that I betrayed her. I haven't seen or heard from my mum since that day. Fast forward to now, my dad passed away 2 years ago from a heart attack, a result of his years of addiction. Despite being clean for over a decade, he had lingering medical issues. I recently got married, and my wife posted some pictures from the wedding on Facebook. My wife said that a woman claiming to be a cousin contacted her. I looked at the message, and it was her cousin from my mum's side asking if it was really me in the pictures with my full name. I told my wife to ignore it, but then I got a call from my uncle later that same day saying that my mum showed up at his house. For context, the house where my uncle lives currently used to be the home where I grew up with my parents. My uncle said that she asked him to arrange a meeting between us, saying she wants to apologize to me face to face. He told me that he can set it up if I want. But honestly, after all these years, I feel nothing for her except maybe slight resentment for thinking that I would turn out as an addict. I was going to say no right away, but my wife thinks that's a shitty thing to do, and I should at least hear her out, let her apologize, and then go back to never seeing her again if I want. She says despite what she did shield me from most of my dad's addictions growing up. Now I'm having second thoughts. Am I the asshole if I refuse to meet her? In the comments, Coco Almonds Rock says, not the asshole. You have to go with your gut. It has been 10 years, and she's discovered that you didn't become an addict, and instead have created a happy life. You are married, which means they could be grandkids in the future. Are you happy without her? If you've moved on without that side of the family, if you've created your own happy family, then why rock that boat? Your wife may not be able to let it go though, and if you turn your mother down, you're going to have a lot of flying monkeys contacting you and your wife to tell you how cruel you're being. I couldn't deal with that personally. I don't do drama. She made a choice and you've respected it. I'd say no and be ready with the block feature. Not the asshole, but I'm wondering if you're an only child. Her reasoning might be that since you got married, you might also be having kids and she wants to be a grandmother. You have to think about what her ulterior motive might be, and this is what I come up with. OP says, one of my reasonings is also this. She never cared before that cousin probably told her about the wedding pictures. OP, I was your wife. I tried to make my husband forgive his shit dad. My husband was passive about it until one day he got so freaking angry at me and exploded. Verbally only. It wasn't fair for me to push him, but I had a good family, and I just couldn't understand his position. I had to get over myself. Your wife needs to get over herself too. Tell her to get over herself and that you need her on your team. You don't need to be fixed. I mean, I'm just worried and hope that she doesn't go behind his back and contact his mother trying to fix things and bring them together. You see that way too much on here, and it always ends in disaster. Yeah, doing that behind your spouse's back basically says, I know what's best for you, so let me do it for you without your consent, which will result in divorce. A marriage is a partnership, not a controlling parent and helpless child. Communication is the foundation of a healthy marriage. Hopefully, OP's wife doesn't make this mistake, as it almost never ends well. Honestly, couldn't agree more with that one. If OP's partner wants to blow up the marriage and award herself a swift divorce, she can go right ahead and go behind his back. Though if I take her words at face value without understanding further what OP had to deal with from the dad's addictions, I can understand where she's coming from and why she said what she said. My wife thinks it's a shitty thing to do. I should at least hear her out, let her apologize, and then go back to no contact. Why should I allow her that opportunity? Because she shielded me from most of my dad's addictions growing up. OP doesn't provide a response on how that makes them feel and what they said back to their partner, just that they had second thoughts. I guess my thoughts on that would be, why did the mum allow her entire side of the family to outcast him, to treat him as lower than dirt for all of that time? And now that grandkids are back, not because she wants to forgive him and she wants to mend bridges because it's her son, just because grandkids are coming into the picture and it'd look pretty shit if she wasn't a proper grandmother to her grandkids. Now she wants to mend bridges. I don't know. To me, it seems as though the mother's actions here are entirely selfish. She's only thinking about herself and her image. Like, I'm genuinely convinced this is not coming from a place of, I want to fix things with my son because I feel bad for what I did. I was wrong for saying that about him. I was wrong for casting him out of my life. I'd say not the asshole if you refuse to meet her. I don't believe that she is being genuine here. And now, onto the update. I didn't expect the amount of comments I got on the first post. Thank you to everyone who weighed in, whether you agreed with me or not. There were so many different perspectives, and I've taken time to think about everything. First, I want to talk about this. A few thousand of you said that I abandoned my mum when I went to live with my dad. It looks that way when I think about it now. However, I feel as though I never abandoned her in any way. I loved my mum dearly, and I loved my dad too. When she told me she was divorcing dad, I helped her pack, and I left with her, as I thought at that time that dad was a lost cause. I went back about 7 months after the divorce when my dad was fighting for his life. That was when he promised me that he would change and get help. I chose to stay with my dad after getting permission from mum. As I said in my first post, she was disappointed, but agreed that dad needed me. Even after I chose to stay with my dad and uncle, I always stayed in contact with her. My mum and dad lived about 20 minutes apart, and I made sure to see my mum regularly, 4 to 5 times a week at least. I would talk to her every day too. We went on trips together, ate meals together, and hung out as much as we could. When she moved in with her new husband, who I will call John, she always included me in her new family's life. John was good to me too. For all that time, there was not even one inclination of the resentment that my mum had for me when she blindsided me with the decision to go no contact. I was completely shocked. She never expressed any anger or frustrations towards me, we never argued, and she never showed me that she was upset about my relationship with my dad until that day. After she blocked me from everyone, I tried for a couple of years to reconnect, but eventually gave up when I moved out of the city. And now onto the update. A lot of you told me to meet her for closure, while others said not to bother. After thinking about it for a while, I decided to meet her and was going to tell my uncle to set up a meeting with her, but before I could tell him, my uncle called me again, 3 days after my mum showed up at his house. He told me that she came by again and gave a letter for me, and she apologized for bothering him and that she won't be coming by again, and she didn't want to raise my hopes unnecessarily and hoped that I would understand after I read the letter. Uncle said she sounded very sincere. I asked my uncle to send me pictures of the letter. It's not that long, and I'll summarize the important bits. The letter was a mix of apologies and well wishes. She wrote that she was sorry for how she treated me back then, especially for saying that I'd turn out like my dad. She said she was going through some relationship issues with John, and then seeing Dad getting better made her feel bitter because Dad never tried for her. She thought her second marriage was failing, and everyone around her was happy while she was miserable. She said she listened to some bad advice, and she regrets it. She said she regrets taking her anger all out on me when she could have gotten help. She said she made up lies to her side of the family so that they would side with her. I don't know what these lies were, as that was all she wrote. She said she got help a couple of years after she went no contact, but she was too ashamed to reach out to me. She saw the wedding pictures and is happy for me, wishing me the best in my life. She wrote that while she initially wanted to meet me, after some reflection and with her family's advice, she realized it was for selfish reasons and for her sake only. She apologized again and said that it's better if we keep things the way they are. She ended the letter by saying she's happy and she doesn't want to drag up the past. She apologized once more and wrote that she won't contact me again for both our sakes, and asked me not to contact her as well and wished me and my wife well. So there's that. Honestly, it's probably the best outcome, and I'm at peace with it. I'm happy with my life, and I'm glad that my mum is happy with her life. Like she asked, I am not going to contact her, but I will keep my door open if she wants to meet in the future. I also realized how stupid I was to hold on to my resentment of her comment about me becoming an addict. I also want to address the comments that said my wife was overstepping. My wife knows all about my past and about my mum. She is a kind soul who sees the best in people. Like I said in a comment in my first post, she was just looking out for me. She wanted me to have no regrets. She did apologize for saying that it would be shitty not to meet my mum, but it's all good. We both know each other's boundaries, we communicate well. Right now, we're planning our honeymoon, and life is good. Thanks for all the supportive comments and messages, I truly appreciate it. Bye. In the comments, wow, all those years just to come back and tell him that she wants to be no contact again. Because she's a piece of shit. Instead of leaving the ball in his court, she noticed that he didn't immediately respond and jumped back to no contact to avoid any rejection. What a failed human she is. If her life is nothing but unhappiness and loneliness from here on out, she's earned it. Bingo. He didn't jump at the chance to have her back in his life, didn't fawn over her that all is forgiven so she could feel validated. All about her, and that she admitted to manufacturing lies to make sure he was completely cut off by her entire family is demonic. Even though Opie is happy with his new family and somehow finds his closure, his mother is still the same selfish, vile person. She admitted to spreading lies about her own son to her family to make them side with her, but never says what the lies she told were and didn't tell the truth to them, so she's not regretful as she claims. Also, if you think about it, she reappeared in OP's life just to abandon him again. I think she decides to go no contact again with OP because she's scared of facing the consequences of her actions. If OP reappears in her life, her extended family will know what she did to him. As harsh as these comments are, and I know these are the comments that I picked, they're not indicative of all the comments that were on this post. I agree with them. I feel like the mother hasn't changed. I feel like I was right in my assessment that she's only apologizing to make herself look and feel good. Does she lack the self-awareness of what abandoning you again will do and repeating that cycle will do to you? That is genuinely so cruel of her. OP deserves so much better than someone that hurts him over and over again like this. Like, yes, she did shield him from the father who had addiction issues, who was hurting his family, who was hurting her, and he refused to change for the better for her. That all really sucks, and yes, I completely empathize with those things. But I feel like through all that hurt, you should understand what the best course of action for you in the future is, and not hurt your son again. Her actions initially abandoning him, and then once again abandoning him after giving him false hope, are things that she could have thought more critically about, and thought, hey, this is the wrong choice, I'm not going to repeat the mistakes of my past, yet she willingly snatches defeat from the jaws of victory. I don't have empathy for her. She could have chosen so many different things to do, but she continues to hurt OP, and I just hope that she stays gone. Thank you for sharing your story with us, OP. I very much appreciate that. Our next post is by a deleted user, titled, "Am I the asshole for hiding my family wealth from my boyfriend? So I, 17 female, have been dating my boyfriend Mike, 16 male, for about 3 months now. We are both juniors in high school and everything's been going pretty well between us. We met through mutual friends about 8 months ago and hit it off quickly. He's funny, kind, and down to earth. We have an amazing relationship, but our financial situations are different. My family is pretty well off. Not rich, no mansions, yachts, etc., but we live in a nice house, take 1 to 2 vacations per year, and I don't really have to stress about money. I only work just so that I'm not sitting at home doing nothing. But that being said, I've always been taught not to flaunt it or bring it up. We drive normal cars and live a fairly average lifestyle, even if we have more savings than others. I never talk about money with people. Mike's family doesn't have as much. He's mentioned how they struggle sometimes to pay bills and how much they have to budget for everything. And because of this, he's made a few comments about rich kids being spoiled or out of touch, which is why I didn't bring up my family's situation. I didn't want him to see me differently or feel awkward about the difference between us. I don't care what his financial situation is. I love him anyway. He's seen my house and knows my parents run a business, but he doesn't know about all my parents' assets, which make a lot of money and is what is keeping us comfortable. So he doesn't know how much we really have. Well, recently, Mike and I had dinner with my family along with my cousins. We all sat down and talked about traveling in general, and one of my cousins mentioned a vacation home that my parents had. She was talking about the cabin that we had in the mountains. Our family loves camping and hiking, so we vacation there sometimes. Mike went quiet, but I could tell that something was up. Later, when we were alone, he asked why I never told him that my family had so much money. I tried to explain that it wasn't something that I thought was important, and I didn't want him to feel weird about it. Besides, he knew that I was more well off than him, he just didn't know the full extent. That's when he got a bit quiet and said something that caught me off guard. He mentioned that I could have helped him out with some of the things that he's been struggling with financially, like gas money or when his car needs repairs a few months ago. He said that he was not asking for handouts, but he said that it feels like I was hiding something from him when I could have made things easier. 16-year-old opens his mouth, opinion discarded. I told him that I didn't want to make things awkward between us by offering money, and I didn't think that it was my place to get involved with his finances. But now, he says that it feels like I wasn't being honest, and that maybe I don't trust him enough to share that part of my life. Over the next few weeks, Mike started getting a little invasive. He looked up my house on Zillow and was shocked at the value. Mike showed me his screen and was upset that he didn't know how rich we were. He also started looking up my family members on social media sites to see what they do and how rich they are. Cousins, uncles, aunts. I got really mad and told him that I didn't appreciate him digging through my family life and my finances are not his business. I asked him to stop being weird. Mike then responded that he was just trying to fully understand what my lifestyle is like, but I think he's going completely off the rails. I didn't mean for it to turn into such a big deal. I was just trying to avoid making him feel uncomfortable or like he was less than me. I also believed that my family finances are irrelevant, but now I'm wondering if I should have been more open from the start. Am I the asshole? In the comments, OP on how she met her boyfriend. So we actually met through mutual friends, and we do not go to the same school. I met him through a friend from his school. We met around Christmas and we all started hanging out for 5 months and then started dating. He has visited my parents' business, but we don't talk about it often. Just never comes up a lot. Sometimes he'll ask how the business is going, and I'll reply that it's going good, and that's that. We both bonded over video games. I do actually know him well. We share hobbies, dreams, goals, interests, but I never brought up my family money because it's not important, and it's not even my money. So while I'm surprised by how he feels after finding out a bit more about my family, I disagree with you on that I never knew him. OP on why she wants to work and not be entitled to her parents' money. I don't wish to sound rude, but it's true, and I won't take that back. I do only work so I have something to do. It's productive. I don't necessarily need money right now. My parents have literally told me this hundreds of times. Don't work for the money, work for the experience, and we'll take care of the money part. Not the asshole. He's not asking for handouts while, checks notes, asking for a handout? Well, if I'd known that you were rich earlier, I would have tried to manipulate money out of you sooner. You were so inconsiderate. That sentence did feel very backwards to me. Also, he was asking about you helping him a few months ago with his car repairs, which sounds like very early in your relationship. It can be awkward when people have different financial positions, and the way that you handled it is the right way, as it is no one's concern and not something that you should flaunt or assume that anyone needs to know about. You will find other posts with people in a similar position whose significant others become strange after finding out that their partners' families are well off. This seems particularly true of men with female partners from well-off families. Even if your extended family is doing well, even very well, it has nothing to do with you or your ability to hand out money to your friends and their families. Anyone who implies that is not somebody who you need to be around, however painful it might be that sometimes friendships could be ended or affected by someone's knowledge and expectations surrounding your family's resources. Not the asshole. What the hell is this guy's issue? You've been dating for only 3 months, and he expects you to financially support him? He's acting just as entitled as the spoiled rich kids that he complains about. You didn't deceive him at all. It's not like he outright asked how rich your family was, and you lied to him or anything. He sounds like a whiny jerk. I've lived in poverty as well, and never would have acted so unhinged over this, and I would have been embarrassed to have a partner start offering to pay for stuff like that. People also seem to forget it's OP's parents that are well off. The money belongs to OP's parents. It isn't her business to offer up loans from parents' money. Yeah, hey look, now that you've agreed to start dating me today, your parents should, give you some money so that you can pay for my car repairs and my petrol because your parents are rich and that's just the right thing to do in this relationship. And when you ask them to pay for these things, they totally won't ask you to kick my ass to the curb. Definitely not. You should just lie to your parents about what the expenses are for, because that'd be fine and dandy. I think in this instance, OP, he is 16 years old, you are 17. Give yourselves some time for your prefrontal cortexes to develop and figure out how the world works. I can empathize with him though. When you see people that have more than you, that are seemingly doing better in your life, you can see the immense amounts of wealth that OP's family has. Yeah, you can be jealous, absolutely, but that doesn't give him the right to start manipulating you from the get-go and trying to get money out of you. Screw this guy, you're not the asshole. Get rid of him as soon as you can, please. And now, on to the update. So when I made the original post, it was a few days after our argument. I wasn't going to post an update, but lots of people wanted one, and stuff actually happened, so here we go. Yesterday I called Mike and asked if we could meet up for coffee to discuss what to do next. He agreed. As we talked, I explained my family's finances are private and it was not my business to tell other people. The money isn't even technically mine, it's my parents'. This is why I didn't tell him. Mike didn't take this very well. He asked me how I could just watch him struggle for months and not do anything, how I pretended to feel bad from him when I didn't even understand how bad his life was. I responded that I did feel bad and I have been supportive. I tried to get him a job at my parents' grocery store, but he didn't like it, so he refused. I would always give rides to him since gas was expensive. I offered gas money whenever he did drive me, but he always refused since he wanted to pay for me. Even just emotionally, I was trying to be as supportive as I could while he was stressed. I acknowledged that I don't understand how hard his life is because I've never lived it, but I've done my best to be supportive emotionally. Mike just dismissed all of that and said that wasn't the point. He said that for him, the money wasn't the issue, it was trust. Oh my God. The money's not the issue, it's the trust. Shut up. Shut your mouth, Mike, you liar. He felt that I had kept something significant from him, and he's wondering what else I was hiding. He said that he wasn't asking for handouts, but knowing that I had the means to help him but chose not to made him feel unsupported. Mike explained how he felt like there was a huge gap between us now, and he will never be equal to me. He told me there was no reason for me to hide such a big secret from him. At this point, I got angry. I corrected him, saying he was asking for handouts. I mentioned our previous conversation of how he said that I could have helped him with his car and gas. I explained the money he wanted so desperately wasn't even mine, it's my family's. I told him that he wasn't entitled to the money that my parents spent over 2 decades earning. I couldn't just bail him out of whatever problems he has with money. I went back to how I did support him, just not financially. I'm ashamed to admit that I did kind of lose my cool here and almost started yelling. After that, I calmed down and explained that I would never shame him for his struggles. My family never has either. They love him. We don't care about how much money someone has. We talked for some more, but I eventually told him that I wanted to break up. It wasn't because he was upset that I hid my wealth, but it was for digging into my family members' lives. I told him that it was extremely invasive, and I couldn't forgive that, and I couldn't feel comfortable around someone who would do that. It was a breach of trust for me. Mike also told me that he wanted to break up since he didn't feel comfortable in a relationship where the financial gap is so big and that our lives were just too different. We ended the conversation and parted ways. The good thing is that he goes to a different school, so I won't be seeing him around. Part of me feels sad, since I do love him. It was my first relationship, and I wanted it to work, but I also feel relieved because I wasn't sure if I could take whatever Mike would do if I stayed. I really didn't like him snooping in my family's lives. I'm wondering if I made a mistake ending the relationship now, and it really sucks. Was I too harsh? I'm not even sure. I don't think I'll be dating anytime soon. I'm not too eager now. And just to be clear, I don't hate Mike. I do think that he probably just never saw money like ours, or that he was just shocked in general, and I get that he's 16, and I'm sure that he'll grow out of this mentality. I hope he does have a better life, but I can't continue with him. I don't like that he tried to dig into my family members' lives. I also want to clarify some things. A lot of people were asking about the car. Mike's car is old and used, and it was gifted to him by his uncle since he doesn't use it anymore. It's about 8 years old. Mike didn't buy the car. Mike doesn't know the true value of my parents' money. That's why he was digging around. It seems like people on Reddit thought that I was perceived middle class or poor. I never was. Mike and others knew that I lived a life that was well off. I just never talked about money, that's all. Mike doesn't know about my parents' other assets. He started thinking that we had more money than he thought because he found out about the vacation home. That's why he tried digging through my family's information. He still doesn't even know close to anything since my parents keep their assets secret. Even I don't know about them. People don't start digging into you until you give them a reason to. Okay, so apparently 8 years is not that old for a car. Sorry I don't know how cars work, but it's been heavily used anyway. In the comments, not the asshole. You don't need to share this info until you're comfortable. I didn't know a fraction of the wealth of my wife's parents until after we were married. Didn't really make a difference to me, other than some behaviors made more sense after I knew. Don't take this the wrong way, but I would lean on the side of caution and not share anything regarding your family's wealth or status until you're married/committed and comfortable. Money does odd things to people, even those who are normally good. And OP says, after all this, I might do just that, or at least until engagement. You're not putting yourself in his shoes at all. He's struggling and you do nothing because what if he turns out to be a gold digger? If you were never going to give him a chance, you shouldn't have led him on. If you have weird hang-ups about poor people, then I guess just date rich ones. OP says, it's not that I was scared he would be a gold digger, I did get nervous he would react negatively, but at the same time, it's my family's wealth, not mine. We only dated for 3 months, which is too soon to open up about all my financial secrets. And I did nothing? I did help out. I tried to get him a job, but he said no. I drove him around. I've been there to emotionally support him. Not the asshole. I see red flags. You're right to keep your family's finances private. You know what's theirs is theirs. The important things when you date with a financial gap is to not pretend that you understand their struggles and to not ask them to pay for the dates. Because he is a man and you are a woman, for example. However, you don't have to disclose the extent of your family's wealth. Knowing that you don't struggle financially is enough. An 8-year-old car is basically brand new, especially if it's made in 2016. That's just ridiculous. You absolutely made the right move. You'll process this. It'll hurt, it'll suck, but you will get stronger and wiser because of all of this. Awesome you stuck with your convictions and what you believed, and good on you for understanding your worth. Good luck. My car is 14 years old and runs fine, unless you live in the salt mines. 8 is nothing. I don't know why commenter 3 expected 17-year-old girl to pay for a 16-year-old boyfriend. Honestly, it isn't her money to give. She offered gas money and he refused. It really isn't her job in a 3-month-long relationship to give him money to fix his car. And I think any parents of means would not want their kids paying car repairs for their high school boyfriend or girlfriend of 3 months. My cousin is very rich. If her teen daughter was going to pay for a boyfriend's car repair, my cousin would say, "I didn't sign off on you getting a job so you can support another human being. That's his parents' job, or he can save up. I don't want you working if you're just going to throw it all away." I can't say I disagree on this take, especially with how disrespectful the boyfriend is being. It should go without saying that my cousin is definitely not giving any of her or her husband's money to a boyfriend. Man, I was homeless at 16. If someone had offered me a job then, I would have jumped at it. The ex is going to learn some tough lessons if he doesn't get that ego in check one day. Well, I'd like to know what the boyfriend considers struggle. His 8-year-old car is referred to as old, and it was given to him. MFer, I'm 42 and drive a 16-year-old car that I think is pretty nice. Wife has the nicer car at 8 years old for carrying the kids, and that thing is friggin' sweet. Like, are these people Beverly Hills poor or something? And this is where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!